Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am the stepson of Krypton.
And I'm Mantis.
And today we thought we'd talk about some new information in regards to James Gunn's DCU and what he is doing with this universe. And that is, we actually got confirmation that he will be releasing a animated series this year, The Creature Commandos.
Mantis. I was going to say I saw something come out a couple days ago on this about that he's actually directing all of the voice actors in it and everything. So he's not only writing the first series, he's also going to be the director as well. So that's in addition to Superman Legacy, he's also kind of taken the reins of this animated project, which again, I'm not too familiar with the actual comic Creature Commandos. But if it's gonna be an anime type thing in the realm of a little bit more mature and a little bit more violent, I'm all for that. I think it'll be real good.
Well, so the interesting thing with that, for those of you who aren't really familiar with Creature Commandos, as you see behind me, Mantis, we talked in an earlier video, and you had mentioned about like in where we talked about Wonder Woman and even Captain America being set in real world events like World War I, World War II. Mm-hmm. Creature Commandos is World War II. That's the whole project. Yeah. So when they started this whole project, it's called Project M, I believe. Like it was to help combat, and fight in World War II, fight the Nazis, and actually. Sean Gunn is going to be in this as G.I. Robot. I'm going to always point the wrong way. G.I. Robot, where he's just he's a military robot just programmed to kill Nazis. That's his entire goal.
Terry, that's the way to tell the meatbags, Master. Charging weapons just in case. This should be fun.
is to kill Nazis. So I like that because, again, we saw Wonder Woman was set in more of the World War I, where Captain America was World War II. Now we're getting kind of a World War II adult animated film about some lesser known characters. Now, for those of you who recognize the Weasel here, he was in the Suicide Squad, the one that James Gunn actually directed that had Peacemaker and all of that.
Did anyone check on whether the Weasel could swim?
He doesn't have a very long part in that, but that's the Weasel there is the same. As well as Rick Flag Sr. is going to be, like, he's the leader of this, who actually, he starts the original Suicide Squad as well, which is kind of somewhat what this is based off of, because some of these guys weren't the nicest of people and are doing this to avoid jail time. So it'll be interesting to see, like, do they
it is it's like a Suicide Squad-esque, like kind of the same thing, just way before the timeline, specifically
a mutant Suicide Squad. Other than Weasel on the Suicide Squad in the movie, let's just stick with the movie that we saw, or even both. Like, everybody else was humanoid, where these are actually, like, monsters.
Bird.
So,
right. Well, it's like Frankenstein-y looking dude, some weird...
We have a werewolf, we have a vampire, we have a mermaid. I mean, it's literally, you've got some... I'm going to always point the wrong side. You've got some, like, the alien... Like, do you have a lot of different characters? And actually, David Harbour is going to play Eric Frankenstein.
That's cool. I like David Harbour. I didn't like him in Hellboy, but I liked him in Stranger Things for sure. And what was the other movie he was in where he was like, it was a Christmas movie, but it was like all violent. Violent Night.
Violent Night, yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
funny.
really like David Harbour. And he played in what's the Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, the Black Widow movie. He played the Russian. I guess he was in a Russian phase then, because Stranger Things, he was trapped in Russia in that same time period. So I guess they're like, hey, while we're doing this. But in the comics, like Eric Frankenstein, he's the powerhouse. Like, he's the main guy. I mean, he's 9 foot tall, 560 pound. He is just the bruiser. He really, like, he's not completely invulnerable, but it would take a lot to even injure him, right? So he's kind of the powerhouse. Now, I do think it's interesting though, because James Gunn has said he wants to reboot, and the initial discussion was we aren't going to use any of the same actors or actresses from the DCEU in the new DCU. They wanted complete separation, right? But actually, Viola Davis is returning as Amanda Waller. She's going to voice Amanda Waller in the series, as well as Steve. I don't know how to say his name. I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
I
with
think
names.
it's Aggie.
Let's go with that. Sounds good. He's coming back as John Economos from Peacemaker. So both of them were in Peacemaker. Now they're going to be in this. They're going to voice the same characters as well. So, like, maybe because it's animated.
My view on it is, I think we discussed this previously in an old video, but I think that whole purge of the DCEU and even the reason that the BS reason they gave about, well, we want all new blood and blah, blah, blah. I literally just think they didn't want to pay the salaries of the established characters, because I don't know what it would have cost to get Henry Cavill to return and Ben Affleck and everyone to return as those characters going forward in a whole new universe, which means they're going to have multiple movies, right? Including with this, it's only going to go up. That, to me, it was a way to cut the fat and bring down the price of any future movies.
We need to trim some of the fat.
By trim the fat,
I want you to fire the fat people.
what?
They're lazy and they're slow and they make me sad to look at.
Yeah, and then in this kind of just it I don't know how much they were paying Viola Davis to be Amanda Waller, but I bet it wasn't anything, so they're not worried about cutting her. And she's gonna play the same. Is that the same actress that played? She's gonna be in the Waller the series, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's like, to me, it's a bunch of BS, and this just proves that it's not really about, well, we didn't want any of the old people in it. No, it's not that. It's just you don't want to pay for them.
Yeah,
That's
and I just, because the only reason why I won't say the only reason, but the main reason I think you're right on that is because, like, if you're going on about we need all this separation, then why are you, not only are you bringing those actors and actresses back, but they're playing the same characters. So
same
characters. But the big wigs. Now, I will say, Jason Momoa is, I don't want to say he's a rising star because he's been pretty popular for a while now, but he's still in the limelight of stars. And, there's the rumor he's coming back as Lobo in this new universe, which I think's awesome. I honestly would rather see him as Lobo than Aquaman, but, I'm not hating on it, but my feelings on Aquaman. I just, like, it wasn't my favorite. But
it's a hard character to do, quite honestly.
Yeah, not Jason Momoa, just the character itself is what I'm just not the biggest fan of. So
yeah, it's hard to write that character. I agree with you, though. I think he's perfect for Lobo. He's perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see it. Before we get off on a Lobo and new DC, going back to, so now it's interesting that Frank Grillo or Grillo, however, I hate trying to pronounce names, but he is actually going to be Rick Flag Sr. And for those of you who don't know the last name that I butchered, he was actually Rumlow in the Captain America movies. So it's interesting because he has been Rumlow in that. He has just recently done episodes of What If playing Rumlow, but now he's in DC. So he's stepping over the picket line. He's going back and forth on that. But it'd be interesting to see him as Rick Flag Sr. I think he'd actually do a really good job. And then I'm going to let you take this because I don't know how to pronounce her name from The Witcher.
Anya Charlotra. That's what I'm going to go with.
We're going to go with that. Is rumored to play Cersei. Now, when I say rumored, there are several sites that have confirmed that she is. However, like IMDb does not show her as a cast member yet. So I put her as rumored because it's actually, I don't believe it's fully official that she is going to play Cersei.
Yeah, and it kind of this kind of ties back into the Greek gods of the DC universe, essentially, because if you remember, and I know technically it's not DCEU, but in Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, who did Wonder Woman fight in that as the bad bad guy, so to speak, is the Greek god Ares, right? Another Greek god in this case, also a villain from the same kind of universe. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think she did fight Wonder Woman periodically, but also it's kind of funny that literally Wonder Woman 1 was World War One, and now you're bringing her supposedly into as a villain in Creature Commandos for World War Two. You know,
Every world war is
it's
backed
gonna have
by a
another one.
god,
Yeah,
a Greek god.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Cersei, if I believe correctly, don't roast me down in the comments if I'm wrong. She appeared in 1949 in Wonder Woman issue 9. So, so yes,
It's well established character.
Yes, well established character. If you ever played DC Universe Online, I love that game. Like she was one of the ones that you fought when you went over into the Wonder Woman arc of the story on that game. Well established. I'm interested to see. I think she would do. I mean, I think she's a great actress. I'd love to see what she could do with the character.
Yeah.
So a lot of good names. It'll be interesting
sure.
to see what they do. Again, it being animated is going to help it out a little bit because you don't have to worry about special effects budget. I mean, just gotta
Right.
not be a shitty animator like I am.
Or
Just
writer.
don't let me animate it. Yeah. Well, James Gunn is writing all the episodes, like he did
Right.
with Peacemaker. He wrote all of the episodes of Peacemaker, and did the directing as well. So I feel like because this is the same thing, it's kind of like this the early Suicide Squad. I feel like this is right in his wheelhouse. Where I know you had mentioned in our last video, which actually is airing right now as we speak, as we're recording this one, the Superman Legacy with James Gunn. Like we were talking about whether he should go Golden Age or Injustice, and you said, like this is out of his wheelhouse, right? Doing that. This is right in his wheelhouse. This is what he's used to doing.
Well, it is kind of weird and goofy, right? Like the ragtag group of people together. That is, I mean, that's essentially what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's what he did with Suicide Squad. This is an animated Suicide Squad, and I don't know. Let us know down in the comments. And I guess I could just look those into Google. But has James Gunn done any animation before? Like, has he written for animation before?
I believe.
I mean, it's a different. Okay. It would just be if he hasn't. It'd be just one of the question marks that I would have of how well he would do, because writing live action is completely different than writing animation. You would imagine. There's just different things that you have to take into account. Also, it opens up a lot of different avenues that you can't do in live action. You can write in, destroy his whole planet, and you don't, like you said, do you have to budget for it? And just write it in there. Yeah, they animate it. It's just I feel like it's a lot more emphasis on if your story is not good, and if your character actors, your voice actors are not good, it can bomb it easily, right?
Oh yeah. Because again, that's you don't have actors that you're guiding and directing to act a certain way and elicit certain emotions and things like that. So if the voice acting's terrible, if things like that, then you're like, well, that's the core of this.
Right. Yeah.
So I will say, interesting point. So basically, the person in charge of Project M they're under the command of Lieutenant Matthew Shreve. Now, the reason why that name sounds familiar to some of you is if you remember in the 3rd season of Arrow, when they're doing the flashbacks, he has he was working with Amanda Waller, or she brought him off the island. They bring him to China, and he meets Yamaseo, and Maseo. I said Yamaseo. Maseo, and all of them, and it's General Matthew Shreve is the guy that is trying to basically get him to steal this Alpha Omega virus because they wanted to use it to destabilize China's economy. So in that show, they never actually say, they just tell you his name is General Matthew Shreve. So it doesn't say he's okay, he got promoted from lieutenant, he made it all the way up to general from that time. I'm gonna say that it is the same because why the hell?
It's got to be.
It's kind of like Stryker.
Yeah.
You watch some of the earlier X-Men. He's he's lieutenant or he's this, and he's major striker. And then he, obviously in the latter ones he becomes something else. So I'm pretty sure that is. But I thought that was interesting. I had to go back and look. I was like an arrow. I said I'm pretty sure that's
The same guy.
Matthew Shreve. Like that's this, and I looked up. Sure enough, it was. So I thought that was a little kind of interesting tidbit that they're trying to do that, and it kind of again pieces so many different things together.
Yeah, I wonder though, like with the storyline of this. I mean, I don't think there's been any leaks about what exactly, other than it's probably going to be during World War II, like what the actual storyline is for this show. With it being if the rumors are true that they're going with Cersei as the villain of this, that's gonna. It does open up to in future seasons to do some sort of, you could bring in some of the other Justice League members in the DC universe. You could bring in, what is it like
Wonder Woman.
You bring in Wonder Woman that would meet Zeus and whatnot. You could bring in Poseidon with Aquaman. You could bring in Hermes with the Flash. You could do some of those, interactions as part of the storyline. I don't necessarily, especially with what they've announced so far. I don't think they're going to do that this season, but it does possibly, tip the cap and maybe a little nod to where they're going with the series.
Well, and it'd be interesting because Marvel has the What If series, right? And it's pretty popular in showing kind of people alternate timelines. What if, like Peggy Carter as Captain America, things like that. It's interesting. Like it'd be interesting to have like a Creature Commandos if they do multiple seasons of almost like the DC's What If, right? But showing some of the behind the scenes stuff that you really just can't film, or maybe like you can introduce some characters.
Wanted to do,
but you just couldn't. Fill in some kind of plot holes in between movies, stuff like that. It leaves a lot of interesting territory that you can go. And again, you have so much more freedom when it is animated.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm excited for it. Like I said, I guess my kind of final thought here on the wrap up is I'm cool with James Gunn doing everything with it. Pretty good director, as we stated in another video about Superman Legacy. The writing, I don't know if it'll be a challenge for him. I don't think he's done any interviews on the writing, his process for it. But, I'm sure he'll do fine at that as well. And again, the cast is pretty good as well. Like I said, like David Harbour and Sean Gunn. And even, I don't know, people thought the character was more, this is going off on a little tangent here, but people thought that they'd focused more on Anya's character in The Witcher instead of the actual Witcher. But hopefully in this case, because she's going to be the main villain, they can kind of do that, and it's not going to drag away from the main cast of the series, which is obviously the Creature Commando. So
I'm excited to see too. I know Alan, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. That is going to play Dr. Phosphorus. He's been in quite a few things too, so he's pretty well established as well. So I'm definitely excited to see what James Gunn can do with this. Plus, you know what? We at least get a little taste of something, right? Because like seeing how he does with this, because I love the Peacemaker show. Mantis wasn't as big of a fan.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, we disagree on that, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Let him know down in the comments just how wrong he is, and that it is actually really good.
Please do.
So, yeah, he needs help on that. But did you even watch the whole thing?
I watched like the first couple episodes, and I just couldn't get into it. So
what the fuck?
I just didn't like it. But maybe I need to rewatch it. Maybe I just need to push past it and maybe I'll.
You don't necessarily have to side with me on this. You should, but let him know down in the comments if because I told him he needs to watch the whole thing. He didn't listen to me. That's just how he is with me. Let him know down in the comments if he should watch the entire season, because he'll listen to you guys, okay? And I will call it out on the show one day randomly that he did listen to you and he watched the whole thing, and he's going to say, you know what? You were right. And as well, the viewers were right that commented and told me to. And make sure you leave a comment down below about it after too, and that way he can respond and say, hey, I listened to you, I watched it, and it was great,
feel like this last minute has just been an attack. I feel like I'm being attacked.
Like, hypothetically, would I at some point? Is that like a personal attack or something? Or...
You know, we're not going to split hairs here. You call it what you want, but you know, that's all I'm going to say on that. Now, if you have made it this far with us, and I know we got off on a little bit of tangent there and trying to get him to come to his senses, definitely consider liking this video. Leave the comments down below what you think he should do, and then subscribe to the channel. We got a lot more great content because we're going to be releasing. Now, we are a little bit over. I do apologize. We kind of broke our New Year's resolution. I'll be able to hack some of this off to keep it around that 15-minute mark for you guys. But we've got a lot more content coming out with all of the James Gunn news as well as the Superman Legacy news. So we'll be bringing that out to you. So subscribe so you don't miss out on any of that. And
DC is ratcheting up. So make sure you, like you said, subscribe, click the notification icon so you know when all this new stuff with the new James Gunn Creature Commandos comes out, because I'm sure we're going to review it. And we'll discuss. So make sure you follow us and all that stuff so you know when we get on here we can discuss, we can all kind of interact and see whether we hate it or we like it.
And then if it all goes to shit, guess what? This will be our therapy channel where we can all discuss our disappointment.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Yeah.
All right, guys. That'll wrap it up for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Later.